this, right? They need, yeah.
I think that there's a gross underestimation of the extent to which Trump's base was principled in their stance on the Epstein files.
Absolutely. No, I agree.
So this kind of manifests as a kind of gross negligence on their part, to string along those people only to underdeliver.
Yeah,
that's the best case scenario. The worst scenario is that they're in on the cover-up, which is what a lot of people suspect.
Yeah, and then then you can kind of, even though you might think a lot of things about Elon, but then it lends more credence to like the uniparty thing, right? It doesn't really matter if it's a red tie or a blue tie. They're all part of a club that we're not invited to. And and you're not supposed to be naive either, of course. Like if it's matters of national security, you need to kind of like you have to use discernment, right? Some things are absolutely, like this thing, for example. I think it's really something that the American public deserve to know the truth about. But then what are the implications of it becoming public? Who are the people that have done this? How many are they? What connections do they have to other governments, for example? Which Tucker Carlson seems very, very keen on trying to imply, right? So not only him, but others like him.
I mean, to be fair, the principal stance is along those lines. Like, if you take for granted the things that all of the people who currently hold office took for granted, which was that there was an illegal ring of pedophilic activity perpetrated by Epstein and his wife, then that means there's a bunch of victims of this, and that means that there were clients of this, and so they exist. If that's the starting point, then you need to bring these people to justice, and like not releasing that information seems like a huge impediment to bringing these people to justice. And if you're doing it to protect people in government, that makes it worse because that makes you complicit. So it doesn't take much conspiratorial thinking. You can just be a reasonable person and come to these conclusions. And so it's hard to dismiss.
Yeah.
And just move on. And so when I hear Charlie Kirk say, I don't care about the Epstein files anymore, it's like, well, that's weird.
It's very, very weird, especially considering he likes to point out the fact that he's a Christian. Not that it has much merit here, but just, in fairness, you want truth. You're supposed to live by the truth. And then there must be a very, very compelling reason as to why you would want to kind of fuck over your voter base. As you said, either they are complicit or it's something deeper. Maybe it's tied to like a whole bunch of stuff that we're not supposed to know about. But even if that is the case, I still think you could disclose at least something. Just throw people a bone, But they're kind of essentially they're gaslighting everyone now and saying that we're all crazy because we believe this, right? And I don't think that's smart.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's bad optics, which is now turning into bad political strategy, and it's giving ammo to the political rivals.
But also
enough time to weaponize it against them.
Yeah, but what would be the alternative then, Jason? Because if we're looking, I don't know who the Democrats are going to run the next cycle, right? But you can rest assured it's going to be one of these swamp creatures. So it's like it doesn't matter who you vote for; they're all pedophiles. So is it the pedophiles with the best morals? Is that the one you're going to vote for? Who has the best economic policy? We're all fucking children, but at least I don't want it to be as high as the other guy. What? It feels like I'm taking crazy pills.
I mean, I hear you. I mean, that's not a jaded response, but I think that some people are really serious about this. It's kind of like their issue. So you can chip away. I just don't know how many Americans that is. I don't know what electoral outcomes that are going to come of this.
So I have a theory about the Epstein case that's not popular, but that the people that had sex with 17-year-old females thought they were 18. So my theory, I'm happy to hear criticism, is no one thought they were flying to that island to have sex with women younger than 18. Epstein introduced women and said, hey, this woman is 18. A lot of men had sex with women who were 17, but they thought they were 18, and then Epstein blackmailed them. So there are a lot of criminals, but they were accidental criminals. And I'm not trying to persuade you of the truth of that theory. I'm asking whether you've heard that theory from anyone else.
I never heard that theory. If I would consider it, I'd say it's probably likely that a subset of them were like that, but not all of them. I think some of them knew full well those girls were underage. I suspect as much. I think it's a reasonable suspicion. One of the reasons is because if you're going to do like a ring of the sort that's been described, and a lot of times what you would advertise is the fact that they're underage, because that there are people who have those predilections, and then you promise them the rich and powerful people, so you promise them discretion along the lines of like what P. Diddy was accused of. So, like, I actually think that probably a lot of them knew full well that those girls were underage. And apparently, supposedly, there's supposed to be a bunch of child pornography materials that are a part of the evidence. So people were creating films of this sort, and it seems like at least those people knew that those people were underage. So if that theory is true, it probably applies to just a unspecifiable subset.
Just to piggyback off of that, Muse, I think, Homer, I understand where you're coming from, and I tend to agree that it's probably a subsection of all these people, but you also have to understand the depths of depravity we're speaking about here. If we're just talking about, like, run-of-the-mill, gay clubs, they fucking shit in each other's mouths. Do you think really fucking a child is that crazy to some people? I mean, come on. Hyperbolic a little bit, sure, but I mean, these people are deeply depraved. They are beyond what we are able to kind of grasp. So, and I feel like, maybe we're being, again, this is very much tinfoil, Alex Jonesy, but we're talking a lot about, you hear this term a lot when you have like predictive programming and stuff. Like if a Hollywood screenwriter can write about children being murdered, in elite parties or like Squid Game and stuff like that, it's not beyond the scope of what could actually happen in reality. Not saying it's widespread, but it definitely, I mean, they've had pedophile rings not only in America, like the Savile guy in the UK. He was the biggest kind of child, he had like a kids show in like the 70s, I think. They knew full well that he was exploiting children, right? But it didn't say anything because they were gathering on all his friends. So it's not like it hasn't happened before.
Okay, you've convinced me that some of the men knew they were having sex with underage women. Some of these men do deserve to be exposed and put in prison. And you've convinced me that Trump has made a decision to protect. Trump has on his desk proof that there are certain men who are guilty, and Trump is protecting them. And I could understand completely why someone who really believes that could be permanently angry at Trump. So you've simplified it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's very hard as a layman or someone without access to power to understand the reasoning behind it, because we don't see all the cards, right? Could be that he can use it as leverage. Some people might say, oh, that's a massive code, like he could be using the knowledge that he has to kind of implement the changes he ran.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I mean, you could imagine a scenario where he has videos of Macron, right? Yeah. And Starmer, right? And even, like, say, Zelensky, right? Like, it's possible, not likely, but it's possible. Yeah. He has videos, and it's possible he is using to advance the best interest of America. It's out of the question. It's a possibility, but it's also possible. It's also possible, considering he's such a scummy guy, that he's just blackmailing them and saying, "Give me billions of dollars into my personal account." So that could be happening.
That could also be happening. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's also the supposition that he may be on the hook too.
A wonderful meal.
There's reasonable doubts about that, but
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
it's
but,
just really-
the comparison again, Muse, was very, very apt. I think, like, just look at, you know, to what extent they ran cover for Biden during his mental decline, right? They were essentially just every day on the news being like, oh, sharp as attack, you know,
Oh, we've
it's,
already enjoyed a wonderful meal
and
together.
using
Prefer
body
to do
doubles and
after
stuff, and you're like,
some
okay,
time
well,
schedule
this is
or
obviously what they're doing. Everyone knows that they're doing it, but
Wait,
we all have to pretend.
hold on. Wait. They used body doubles for.
Yeah, Andre. There's a clip where they have basketball, like NBA Biden. He's like 6'5". You know, he's 6'5". He's like towering over his wife. Like, I can see if I can find that clip, but clearly it's not him. You know, but they all act like it's him. Yeah, no, I think we're living in like this weird kind of 1984-ish, but not as cool version of reality, where they're all just they're doing what they need to do in order to for the optics, all right? So no, I definitely believe there's more to this, and the interesting question, Muse, is when is the breaking point? Like, when are the American public fed up enough with this back and forth, essentially, two sock puppets just fighting each other for entertainment?
Well, look, is it possible? Have you considered that part of the success of America is incredibly successful compared to Europe, is precisely because our political parties are fighting about this silly stuff. I'm not trying to convince you of the truth of that, but if you compare the public policies in the U.S. to the public policies in Europe, we have kicked Europe's ass for 15 years, and our GDP per capita is rocketing upwards as theirs stagnates. Respect.
No, and I totally get that, Homer. It's a valid point and a salient one. But what I would say is that, yes, look at us. Don't become us, Homer. And this is...
Alex, where are you located? I'm not trying to be an asshole. Where are you physically located?
In Scandinavia, Homer.
Okay, so are you in one of those Indonesian countries that made the mistake of letting in migrants that may be committing a little crime?
I'm currently the poster boy for that.
Okay.
My country is the at the bleeding edge of this endeavor.
Okay,
Homer.
so I don't.
Yeah.
I on Clubhouse, I have very nasty things to say about all Republicans and all Democrats. So I'm not partisan, and I have praise for your country. So I was actually visiting your country, and there's a lot of nice things in your country. Truthfully, Malmo is...
No, it's a shithole. It's Baghdad.
But your whole country is now Malmo. So I think most Republicans would say, I visited Malmo, it's a shithole, so your country sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas I would visit one of the more northern cities and say your country is beautiful. And I want to give you, I don't want to divert the room, I give your country tremendous praise for pivoting. I know of no country in the world that's pivoted more decisively than your country has. And the voters of your country treated the Sweden Democrats as worse than scum for many years. Yeah. And now it's sort of like almost the majority of your country has come to their senses. And so I give your country complete credit for admitting its mistakes openly and pivoting. Okay, I'm done speaking. I don't want to hijack.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I appreciate it, Homer. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm not wagging the finger here, but what I'm trying to kind of, the point I'm trying to get across is, like, you see what happens when you have a bloated bureaucracy. We have, like, most of the laws that we have to follow are not being decided on the national level. It's the people in Brussels that they don't pay any taxes on their salary. They decide exactly what we're going to do. What a farmer in my country, how many potatoes is that farmer going to grow before he gets fined? That is decided.
But my criticism of Europe doesn't have to to do with Brussels. You may be misinterpreting, Alex. So I'm going to be clear.
Yeah.
Brussels, I'm sorry to be an asshole, but Brussels did not force your country to let in the most violent.
No, absolutely not.
Please let me finish. Please let me finish.
Absolutely.
Brussels did not force Germany to destroy its economy by shutting down nuclear power. That's not Brussels did not force Spain. In fact, Brussels was supportive of nuclear, as you can see in France. Brussels never forced a nation to have employment contracts for life. In other words, Brussels never forced companies to never fire the unproductive employees. That was mostly national government. So when I look at the total disaster, let me give the final example.
Yeah.
No one on Clubhouse, literally zero people on Clubhouse know this, but Europe's policy towards air conditioners kills more people than all the guns and all the cars in America. So what I'm saying is, if you add up every single person in America who's killed by a car and every single person in America who's killed by guns, it's still a smaller number than the number of Europeans that die every summer, because the Europeans are so retarded they vote to ban air conditioning. It's 80,000, and no fucking people on Clubhouse know that. But I'm done speaking. You go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic point, Homer. And absolutely, there are instances where countries in some sort of suicidal empathy, they make these super retarded decisions, excuse my French, because out of dogma and ideology, right? So the Germans essentially saying, you know what, we're going to make ourselves entirely energy dependent on Russia, instead of going the opposite direction.
Even
saying,
worse, right? The environmentalists, you're correct, but you're understating it. The environmentalists shut down nuclear. So Germany is now burning coal. So because of the Green Party, the Green Party of Germany has fucked the air quality of all of Northern Europe, because they shut down clean, efficient nuclear in order to have coal. That's how retarded it is.
Yes, and it's the fault of short-term thinking, and I think unfortunately you see this in a lot of these countries that. Which, I mean, you can discredit both sides of the aisle here, to be honest. But back in the day, we had huge kind of systems and long-term strategy, right? So after the Second World War, when we got the loans from America, thank you very much. Then these countries, they at least had leaders that realized that, hey, this is a big national project. It's going to take decades to get to the goal here, but at some point in time they got lost.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would describe America. So I would describe America as controlled by the deep state.
Yeah.
But I think what no one else on Clubhouse sees, except for me, is it's a benevolent, altruistic deep state. So, and you're not going to hear this from anyone else, in my view. The deep state, the leaders, the real powers behind the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, they conspire on most things, right? And it's a conspiracy to deny Americans what they have in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Like Plato said, as you well know, Plato said democracy can never work because the voters are retards and they're going to vote too much free shit. That's basically all of what Plato said in the Republic. Well, I think the deep state in America recognizes that Plato is correct and that democracy has to be tempered. And so I think essentially what you have in America is both parties pretend to hate each other. And the proletariat, trust me on one thing, the proletariat in the Democratic Party hates the proletariat in the Republican Party. They hate each other. But the elites in both parties have an understanding. So I think it's a benevolent conspiracy. And the proof of the benevolent conspiracy is we still have nuclear power and you don't. We still have employment at will. The most powerful thing for having a good economy is employment at will. We have it and you don't have it, right? We have an open economy. The overwhelming majority of migrants to the U.S. actually get jobs. But no party would deny. It's like when America lets in 1 million immigrants, like 90% of them get jobs, whereas in Europe, more than half the immigrants refuse to work. If you look at the labor force participation in Sweden, it's horrific. Even after living in Sweden for 20 years, many migrants refuse to work. So I guess what I would say is we have like it's a little bit of a joke. It's a little bit of a shtick, right? It's like professional wrestling. The Democrats hate the Republicans, but on the really important things, the elites are taking care of us. And the idea that we have a benevolent conspiracy, it's so offensive. All the proles in the Republican Party hate the idea, and all the proles in the Democrat, they get pleasure from hating each other, right? If you talk to dedicated Democrats and Republicans, the happiest thing is criticizing each other and hating each other. That's what makes this room so special.
It's like a sports team almost. Yeah. It's like the Yankees against the Red Sox, or like the Knicks against the Lakers, or whatever. Yeah, I understand it, Homer, and it's a very good point. Again, I think you're very efficient in kind of describing it. But you're playing devil's advocate here. I mean, it sounds like championing the lizard people, and I mean, I get that, because stability is, of course, preferable, especially if you're the most powerful nation in the world.
Well, Alex,
right?
has anyone in your life ever suggested that the lizard people really do run America?
Let me interject a fact check, because I don't want to get into a while. You have a way of just spewing things, going back to unrelated shit. So, first of all, there is no evidence officially that air conditioning bans cause death in Europe. However, heat waves, which can be exacerbated by a lack of access to air conditioning, are a serious public health concern. In 2023, over 47,000 excess deaths in Europe were attributed to heat. In 2022, over 60,000 deaths were estimated. Wow. So, anywhere from 47,000 to 60. I see no evidence that there's been 80,000. However, the last data that I see here is 2023. It is now 2025, so perhaps it's possible it got up to 80 maybe in 2024 or so. It is the summer now, so they wouldn't come up with those until after the summer was over. This one is fine. In the United States, approximately 42,514 people die in car accidents each year. So somewhere in the ballpark of 42.5 thousand people. So that's car accidents. And then gun deaths, 46,728 people, somewhere around that number died. Well, at least that was the number in 2023. Something around 46.7 thousand. If you combine those would add up to more than 80,000, even if the number of air conditioning or lack of air conditioning caused deaths was 80,000. It's not true to say that there are more deaths caused by air conditioning or lack of air conditioning.
I'm assuming
bans. Hold on. Air conditioning bans in both the deaths of car accidents and U.S. gun deaths combined. That is a false statement. I just wanted to point that out. I did the numbers.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying, Jason. It's good, but I think even though Homer may have used a little bit of hyperbole here, he still gets his point across, which is that especially like the idealism that is very, very prominent in the European culture, it serves nothing more than exacerbating the destruction of itself. Like if we talk about energy dependence, for example, which is you need it in order to survive, right? Especially if you live in the northern part of the world, you're going to everything is going to fail if you're not able to manage that properly. And then you compare it to China, where they are opening coal plants every fucking 2 weeks, and the farmers. They even though they live in a rural town, they air condition their pigs, while like 70-year-old grandmas in Spain are dying on the streets. So he points to a truth, even though the data is fudged a little bit. It points to an essential truth that we have to be realistic, and I understand Homer's point there. And I think America is smarter in managing these things. But the question I would pose, Homer, is do the ends justify the means? If there's a benevolent cabal of people that have an understanding that we need stability in America, and then it doesn't matter what the peasants vote for. We're going to agree that we have to do certain things for national security and to keep top position in the world. Does that mean then that you're supposed to just let fucking rich assholes fuck children? I don't know. I don't know if that's the most efficient way to solve this issue. And maybe that's where we differ. But I totally understand what you're saying, and I think it makes, like, gut feeling says it makes sense that it would be like that, because as you say, democracy is flawed because people are easily swayed, and they also tend to forget very quickly, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I travel in Europe. I hate America, but then I travel in Europe and I love America. The more time I spend in Europe, the more I like America. And it's just, I just observe the voluntary poverty at every level of European society, and it's striking, and you can't see it unless you go back.
Go there.
The final thing I'll say is, in America, we have this incredible social pressure on billionaires to donate most of their money. So I don't know if you saw just today, Larry Ellison announced he's giving 80% of his money to Oxford University to build an institute to solve the future's problems. So that's something special about America, that Europe just does not have billionaires pressured to donate money the way we have in America. Respectfully, Al.
Yeah, no. I totally, like, again, Homer, I don't take it personally. I am a little bit of an America-phile in my leanings here. I understand the founding principles quite well, and I think it's the greatest document ever produced by mankind. And I am very sad that Europe has not adapted properly. Like, it seems like they did the French Revolution and then they just gave up after it. It's very sad, but we'll see. I think I think it needs to reach critical mass. Really, I think you're going to have to reach a point where people are so fed up that populist movements are going to have to address these things for better or worse in order to actually affect change. Because at the moment it just seems like doesn't matter what you vote for. Even the party that you were talking about before, Homer, my right-wing cuckoo party, essentially the MAGAs of Sweden, they got a lot of you should give the credit where credit is due. They actually affected the national conversation, and now people are, even the people that would cancel you 5 years ago, they are starting to actually admit that maybe this migration thing, maybe we actually need to actually help them at least integrate into society, and not just
I have a different
free.
view, Alex. I think I posted a link to a book called 1 Billion Americans. I would urge you to give up on Sweden and give up on Europe and
Just move to America.
Just move to America. If you read this book, which I recommend,
Yeah.
it says that America should welcome all the super smart, thoughtful people in the world like you. We have space for 1 billion people, and I really believe in the book.
Yeah, I'll make sure to bookmark it so I can find it later on today. But you're probably right, and historically that's the way it has worked, right? America has had a tremendous advantage in
Another
attracting
advantage that you brought up is we still have the health industry, and you don't.
Yeah, also true, also very true. And it's a big problem all over. And I think maybe that's finally what's going to be in the coffin for China as well. The one-child policy has done tremendous damage to that country.
Well, respectfully, Europe will die many years before China, in my view. But I don't want to dominate the room. I'll let the moderator reset the room as he.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to note sarcastically how Homer took over my room, and then after that goes, I don't want to dominate the room. Let me let the moderator take his room back. Like, thanks, bro.
Don't worry, it was promised to him 3,000 years ago.
Guilty of hijacking the room. Very true.
Free.
No, but yeah.
I don't know. it's only you two on stage, so there's not much room to share. I mean,
Very
I don't know how
true.
much meat are on the bones of the Epstein stuff.
But what does your gut say, Jason? What do you think? Like, if you were able to just speculate freely, what would be the point of all this? Right? Do you think
I mean,
they're telling
it
the truth?
seems like there's two likely reasons. One is they overpromised and underdelivered. That's the best case. The worst case is that they're in on it now.
Yeah. Now,
Those to me seem like the two most likely theories or explanations.
yeah.
But I don't claim to know. These are just speculation.
Yeah, of course. But both are. One is, of course, clearly worse than the other, but the other one is not good either. so it's like, yeah.
Well, I think the biggest irony would be if if it's the best case scenario, then it's a product of the GOP who's putting their foot in their mouth, stringing a bunch of conspiracy theorist types along, only to realize that they have government interest in not divulging things in the way that they promised. And so they were naive in presuming that the former administration had some nefarious purpose behind it. Meaning they were in on it. Now they're the victims of that kind of speculation. So I think that's kind of funny. But
I mean, there's a lot
the
of
worst case scenario.
There's a lot of cases where the government keeps secrets for benevolent reasons. I'll give a very brief example. Like,
No, I'm aware of that. You don't have to give examples. I mean, if you want to, you can. But I'm aware.
the one is Saudi Arabia, right? The leader of Saudi Arabia cut apart his rival with a bone saw, essentially, and we've covered it up and we forgive him for it. And it's good that we forgive him for cutting that guy up with a bone saw because it serves.
A better example would be like if they have like confirmation or confirmed knowledge of the existence of aliens and they don't tell people because then people will freak the fuck out. Like that would probably be a better example.
Yeah, that one is actually also very interesting, Jason, because I mean it gets to the heart of these long-running, cover-up stories, and for the longest time, people like Joe Rogan and all these, those types of people, they were branded as stupid and tinfoil and kind of schizophrenics, right? But now, increasingly the people representing the state have kind of admitted, or at least alluded to, that there are things there where previously it would have been discarded as just bullshit, right? Or stuff like that. So I've heard a couple of different kind of things. Either it's like high level black projects by defense contractors like Boeing and stuff like that, right? And they're willfully using these adjacent stories to obfuscate what they actually have, which is smart. I'm not saying they should tell everyone exactly what they have, especially adversaries, right? But at the same time, I mean, doesn't the taxpayer have a right to know at least a little bit about what the hell is going on? Or should we just shut up and pay taxes and keep our heads down? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about this like years ago, but I kind of ended up settling on the idea that I do think that there are a range of things where a competent government would not release information to the general public because the general public's likely response would make matters worse. And so anything that fits that paradigm, I can kind of get behind the idea of like, yeah, we probably shouldn't just tell people everything. That said, it becomes a line drawing exercise. Like, what is the criteria for things that we shouldn't tell people versus things that, the American people deserve to know? And that shit gets tricky real fast. So if you have like maybe you have a scenario in which a particular politician or presidential candidate, let's say, would objectively be like really good for the country, but they're mired in some like scandal of some horrible thing that they did years ago, that if it got out, if the public knew, they wouldn't vote for him.
Yeah.
and the other person is so bad for the country, like objectively true, like not just based in people's political opinions and persuasion, but like let's say that there was a scenario where that was clearly true. Would it be in the best interest of the American public to not know about that scandal? And I came up with this in the context of trying to figure out, like, if there was any set of circumstances that could justify, say, hiding the Biden laptop or some shit. And that was kind of the best I could do, is like, I came with that scenario. And I'm actually ambivalent about how I feel about such scenarios.
Yeah, but because I mean, it strikes at the heart of you know, the American patriotism as well, you know, or to an extent, like maybe I'm using the term wrong here, Jason, but I mean like what it means to be an American and being able to you know, your pursuit of happiness and freedom and you know, the support that you have and the love you have for your country, and then you know, the people that you have placed in charge, or at least try to, right? Because the argument is also like, you know, regardless of the person sitting in the Oval Office, there are also people that are not elected. They're just there, right? And whether or not those people have your best interest at heart or not, you know. And I mean, I heard, I think this was like a couple of months ago, but you know, the fact that the Russia collusion thing was something that we know wasn't real, it was fabricated, right? Is that, can we chalk it up to just political squabble, like it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, they're trying to fling shit on each other, or is it something more nefarious, deeper? You know, it's the same with what was his name, Watergate, what's the name of the person, Nixon, right? I heard.
Well, no, there was, that was true. Nixon.
No, I know it was true, but the reason behind it, that's why, because timing is also a little bit important, Jason. So what I heard recently was that yes, absolutely did the things that he was accused of, but the reason he was outed, or that they tried to get, because the guy who wrote the article, that like the guy, the journalists, what was the name of the journalist that did it?
You're talking about Woodward and
The one that, yeah. He had one job before getting, like, because he just entered journalism. He got the story, and he broke, arguably, one of the biggest stories of that century, right? Before he worked as a journalist, he was part of the intelligence community, right? So it's like, who would stand to benefit? And I recently heard that Nixon was questioning deeply the events surrounding the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and that's why they fucked him over. So I again, I have to find the sources to kind of to kind of you know, prove this, or at least you know, where I got it from. But I'm pretty sure that's what I heard, and that's why the entire scandal broke. If he was just playing ball, then nothing would probably have happened, right? If he just shut up and did his job and didn't, you know, try to threaten the real rulers, then you know, he would have been fine, essentially. But again, you know, what are we really talking about here? Who are the people in charge? Who was running the country when Joe Biden didn't have a brain? You know, that's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, once you give the, so one of the elements of it, because I'm kind of going back to what I was talking about before about how uncomfortable I am with the idea of the government having being able to basically lie, not lie, but just hold information with the American people. Like, once you give them the green light, then you open up an avenue for all kinds of corruption. And it's like, the problem isn't that you can't come up with scenarios where it would be a good idea, is that you're then entrusting the government to make that decision. And that's the part where it's like, it's really hard to get by, because there's all these kind of politically motivated reasons for that kind of thing that aren't necessarily valid. And so, yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people who don't trust the government kind of by default. I don't blame them, to be honest, but it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
All of that. But the other thing that was like weird is the right wingers weren't, it was particularly the ones who were super gung ho about the conspiracy theories. They weren't into all of that nuance before their guy got in office. Now they want to be on nuance. It's like, well, that's convenient.
Yes, and also very hypocritical. And I feel like it's very telling then news that the people that actually have a backbone, they are not they're taking kind of like the opposite stance to this, right? Like the Tuckers and the Matt Walshes and stuff
Megyn
like
Kelly
that.
to a certain extent.
Yeah. But the Tim Pool and all these guys, man, the other, the Turning Point USA guy with I don't know,
Charlie Kirk.
yeah, those are just they're just bootlickers. That's what they are. And I mean, it's sad, but I'm not surprised. So that should really tell you. But I think I read something just today, Muse, and I think maybe you can verify this. But apparently they're releasing or they're proposing like the Jeffrey Epstein Act now. That everything that is of interest to the American public that doesn't hurt national security, like including embarrassment and stuff like that, should not be redacted. They should release all the files, and then you get black on white who are the people that are going to vote against this, and then you get a list of people that are actively opposing the will of the American voters, right? So I think it's actually, maybe it won't do anything, but at least it will show you, on paper, who are the people that don't give a shit about you and what you want.
No, I mean it's a political strategy, and it's not clear how effective it'll be. To your point, I agree, but it is promising as of now. Because a lot of people really care about that shit, and a lot of Trump's base specifically cares about it. And so, if you want to chip away at that base of voters, that's an effective way potentially to do it.
Yeah. So I think maybe he doesn't care because he knows it's his last term, right? So he just does whatever he needs to do, and then people will judge him after it, But he has nothing to lose personally. But it's interesting to see what the damage is going to be for the entirety of the Republican Party. What will happen after this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm intrigued by it, is the political baseball of it all. But I also, I think, to me, it just kind of affirms one of the reasons why I'm jaded about politics is that both sides are full of shit. They're just trying to stay in power or gain power to the extent they don't have it. I don't think any Democrats really care about any of this shit, to be honest with you. I think they care about it to the extent that it helps them get power back from them.
Yeah, agreed. But we have new people in the room, Muse, so I'm gonna shut up now. But thank you so much for the exchange. I think you all of you have very good points so far. So
Yeah. So Steve, what's up, MGK?
Hey man, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
Yeah,
Comment.
I think you're dead on. I voted for Trump, and he wasn't the person I voted for in the primary, though. I mean, I didn't vote for him in the primary. In the general, I voted for him. But I like you said, this just exposes the fact that powerful people a lot of times have a lot of interconnections, and power becomes the most intoxicating drug that they can consume. And when it comes to them and the people around them maintaining and collecting power, they'll, like you said, Democrats and the Republicans are the same on this, man. If you think we as a Republican or we as a Democrat has anything in common with these people pulling the levers of power, you're delusional.
What's up, MGK? Did you want to comment as well?
Sure, I'd say, look, I'm probably still in the. I'm still in the process of process of trying to process all this stuff, it's sort of, it's very intriguing to me. And, look, even though I am MAGA, right, I'm not too, at no point was ever like, you know, bloodthirsty about how we need the list and things like that. But it's like, it is interesting with the way that it was sort of presented, and well, sure, maybe this is probably likely just playing political football with the sort of materials and information that you have at your disposal, right? So it's like the way it's sort of been presented, whether by Trump himself, or just, you know, folks that line up on the right. I think it's, how can I put it? What it sort of the frenzies that it's turned into. So all of a sudden, it's sort of, you know, how quickly we're trying to dismiss it. It's sort of, that's interesting to me. To me, it's like, did they talk out of their ass and did they overpromise and are going to end up under delivering, or is it actual cover up? Right, and sort of, and it's like at this point, it's like I have a lot of things that are on the table that I'm thinking about. Like one thing that's sort of silly that I've been thinking about is sort of doubling down on the conspiracy theory, right? But it's like, look, in my defense, I feel like, look, at this point, it might be plausible. Who knows? Crazy things happen. But I was thinking, I don't know. Let's say, because look, I think what's been happening is there's some confusion. Because on one end, it's like, okay, there's a list, right? But is it this flight log people are talking about? Which I do think parts of those have definitely been released. Or is it this client list, which I'm not sure if we're sure exists, but if it does, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, okay, let's say it's as big of a cover up as we think it is. It's like, you would think that if they were to get rid of anything, it would probably be the most damning documents that are around, and I think that's even more likely, if that's the case, that they would do that than like just kill Jeffrey Epstein. It's like you went through all the work to kill the guy, which takes an incredible amount of research, at least if it goes down how many people think, which is, you know, an inside job and someone took him out. It's like, it'd be way easier to get rid of the client list. So could it be a thing where, you know, they were all dandy about this thing, and they come to find out that it's really only just the flight logs, which is something, but it's not the same because it doesn't, you know, directly implicate somebody as, you know, this is a person that likes, you know, it's having sex with minors and things like that. So it's like, or is it, do we think it's, they have the list, they're just covering it up? And I think, if I'm going to be as fair as I can be, I would say I'm actually not sure. So that's really what I meant about still the process of processing, you know, all the information and things like that. So that's probably where I'm at. But I would say, you know, I think it's been handled very poorly, regardless of, you know, if they truly have the client list and are covering it up, or if they're over-promising and just end up under-delivering.
Well, you know, yeah, I think there's a lot more in flight logs. I mean, Epstein, if he has his setup and he's doing what he's doing, you know the guy's got to be paranoid. So if you're paranoid about the people you're dealing with and the things that are going on, the first thing you're going to try and do is get some kind of protection. And the protection would be video of these guys actually doing what they're doing. And that'd be your leverage to keep the guy from knocking you off, you know. So I think there's a lot more there, the extent and scope. But, you know, one of the things that occurred to me, because this cuts across, you know, Democratic and Republican administrations, is there some kind of like shadow kind of control of the government of powerful people that are compromised that is pulling the strings now because, like, who's the FBI director, Kash Patel, when he came out, when Cash came out and was giving his little spiel one day, I can't remember, it's been a while back. This guy looked like someone had been taken in a back room and been shaken down. Like, dude, this is what you're going to say, and you're going to say it this way, and that's going to be the end of it. He had that wide-eyed, deer in the headlights look that, like, it's almost like he's gauging every word. And then what occurred to me at that time, who in the world would have the kind of power to take someone at that level and shake them up that badly? You know what I'm saying? That was disturbing to me.
How much is Pfizer?
You know, as for Trump, I think what he's doing, I think he's just like, I think he's probably just mostly taking the word of like, you know, the intelligence that he's getting. Right, so, you know, at least look, this is what I think might be going on. I can imagine Donald Trump just like getting briefed by Kash Patel, the Pam Bondi or whatever, right? And then sort of telling him that, yeah, it looks like he killed himself. Maybe this is nothing, there's nothing here. And then Trump goes with that. He's like, why are you guys still talking about this? This is old stuff, right? And I think at least it seems plausible, right? Because the people that have more knowledge of it, of his administration, are making these claims. And it's also the fact that, look, Trump's like, I think he's 80, right? It's sort of also understandable that he doesn't have like a pulse on like the immediate, you know, the wind of the culture when it blows. Even though he's showing that he's very good at it, it's I think in some instances he definitely it makes sense that he's not as on it. But I do think just a couple of days ago, after him sort of saying something like, I can't believe we're still talking about this, he also said that Pam Bondi should release more files too. So he's sort of doing this. I think he's picking up on it slowly that yeah, a good portion of his base is yeah, they're just not going to shut up about it. Is which actually, like, as a someone that's voted for Trump voted twice, not in the same election. That's illegal, guys. No vote for Trump, but you know that's there's that. Voter fraud bad.
Well, you know, this could cost him, if this gets out of control, this could cost him big time in the midterms. If he loses a bunch of seats in the midterms, he's basically done for the rest of his presidency. So he's got to get a handle on this thing one way or the other. He's in trouble in the midterms. I know there's a lot of Republicans that are not happy right now, and you get a disaffected base, they're not going to turn out, and you're going to get smoked in the midterms.
You're gonna be pissed.
You know, I wouldn't even be surprised if this is the imagination of my mind, so it's not real. There's no evidence of it, and it's retarded for it. But hey, it wouldn't be that crazy if they were like, yeah, we do have these Epstein fight stuff, but hey, we could be the administration that drops all the files right before the midterms and you know, use it as leverage. I wouldn't be surprised if that was in the political calculus.
Well, then why wouldn't they drop them now? I think that might cost them in the long run.
Yeah.
If they can drop them at all, they should have did that.
think there's video, Jason? I think there's video of powerful people that guy took, and he had stored somewhere. And I forget that woman that was working with him. If they didn't find it all, I bet they're strong arming her for the location of it.
I mean, allegedly there's video. It's been described as video that entails child pornography. Somebody's having sex with the children. So, I don't know, bro. Like, there's video. There may be video of powerful people. If that's the case, they can't show that because, like, that would be to show child pornography. Like, can you imagine, like, the FBI leaked the R. Kelly tapes? Like, that would be totally illegal. And the distribution of that, by the way, online would be illegal too, by private actors. So, like, they're not wrong about that part of it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's just speculation. I'm not really a big fan of speculation. I'll do it if people want me to, but I'm not really. I just don't fucking know, and I'm cool with not knowing. It's just the reality. I think that whatever it takes to get justice to the victims, I would be in support of that. Insofar as it's reasonable and consistent with the law.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. They're, you know, but again, I think this whole thing just points to there's a class of people that operate out the rules that most of us have to live under, and they just laugh at us.
They're called MAGA.
No, dude, it's not MAGA. If you think it's one political party, you're not looking at it straight. You know, George Soros. You think George Soros is MAGA? You think he operates under the same rules that me and you operate? Come on.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Jason? You want to know what I think, Steve? I think there's a massive cover-up. I think there's things there that Donald Trump don't want the world to see. I think the man was murdered in prison, okay? Because you need a perfect storm for this guy to kill himself. Security guards, CEOs falling asleep, cameras miraculously just not working on the same night that they fall asleep. Here's the thing I don't understand. On both sides, I mean, Republicans, Democrats, don't matter. If they want to cover it up, they're going to cover it up. But anything that could possibly paint Donald Trump, MAGA comes to his defense. Like, wait a second, dude, there's no need to release this. There's bullshit, release it. Because, by the way, that was one of his campaign promises, that he was going to release these files. So, let's step up, do it, and I think this is going to tarnish his legacy, which is I believe he's trying to fix, but release the tapes, release the file.
I think that JB, I think he's getting a fracturing in the MAGA base from this. I don't think all of them's going along with it. I mean, I voted in the general for Trump. The primary, I didn't vote for Trump in the primary, but you know, this is something. It's a bridge too far for me.
Once again, Steve, we all grew up with, if it walks like a duck, it flaps like a duck, it's a duck. So this man's in one of the most secure prisons in America, where they do suicide watch, where they walk by every 10 to 15 minutes to check on it. Because there's inmates that do that, by the way. They get paid to do that. And the cameras don't work. The cops fall asleep. They change the log. So, I don't know. To me, it seems like, I'm not a conspiracy person, but all the pieces fit.
Well, they call that Occam's razor. Yeah, I mispronounced it. Sorry. Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know, maybe the next 6 months, if these things don't change, that Bondi's forced to resign, take the bullet for Trump, because that's what MAGA does.
Yeah, but JB, under Biden, they had access to the same thing. So I think this thing's bigger than political parties. I think we're talking about the elite power brokers that operate outside political parties.
Hey, Steve, you might be right. I don't know, man.
Good.
I know that this guy Epstein was a mediocre student at best when he was in college. I think he lost his job at Bear Stearns. Somebody can fact check that. How this guy garnered so many billions of dollars and got all these powerful people around him. And now they're saying there's no list? Come on. What's up, Andre?
Hey, JB, what's up?
I think it's called leverage in the JB. You can do a lot of things with leverage.
Hey, Stevie. One man's leverage is another man's blackmail.
Yeah, there you go, man. I mean, that's all I see here, JB. Like he's talking about the president. Who has the power and the influence? Now, you think about this, to pull something like that off, and I think it was pulled off. But can you imagine the influence and power you'd have to pull that off? It's well beyond anything we could do.
There's a whole plethora of possibilities. There's the CIA, the FBI, Mossad, the English intelligence. Just pick one. Put all the names in the hat, pull it out, you're probably right.
Are you guys discussing whether it's morally permissible to use blackmail as means of achieving your goals?
Depends on whose morals you ask. Look what happened to Prince Andrew.
Well, I mean, being the moral realist, I would say it's objectively it would not be a good thing. Regardless of the, pink unicorn heaven that you're trying to build.
Well, I think when you get to this level of power and influence. Oh, I'm sorry, Jason. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, that's actually a good question. I don't know. I'm ambivalent about the moral status of blackmail. That's interesting.
I don't think morality at that level has anything to do with anything. I don't think there is any morals. I think there's power, influence, and leverage. And I think that's the only driving factors.
I think there are clear cases where I would say it's wrong. I don't know that it's wrong full stop. That's what I'm having trouble with.
Well, Steve, let me ask you a question. Sorry, Andre. Let me just answer this question. See, what's more morally contemptible? Blackmail or grown men sleeping with underage girls? What's worse, do you think?
I think one would do the other, but I think sleeping with an underage girl, blackmail would depend on what your objective was. I mean, if I blackmailed someone to keep them from donating to feed 100 starving children and got them not to do that, that'd be pretty bad.
To me, the clearest cases of blackmail being wrong are blackmailing someone to do a wrong thing. I think those are the clearest cases. If you blackmailed someone to do something they should have done anyway, I'm less clear on what's wrong with that, other than the presence of some form of manipulation of their will. That might be the source of the wrong in some way. But I don't think that coercion is inherently wrong. So insofar as blackmail counts as a type of coercion, then I might treat it the same. But maybe it's something along the lines of you don't have the official authority to leverage the coercion.
But wouldn't coercion qualify?
But
Wouldn't qualify
You're in the Matrix, Andre. Andre, you're in the Matrix, Andre.
I didn't hear your question because you were in the Matrix, dude.
Sorry, can you hear me?
No, I just said I just said I think you're right, Jason, in your analysis there.
Well, my analysis is incomplete. I'm speculating. I'm thinking out loud. But go ahead, Andre. Say it again. Andre, you there?
Yeah, I just lowered my quality of my audio. It is better. I'm saying that wouldn't coercion qualify as some sort of deception? So you're not releasing full information to individual, and therefore you're taking advantage.
No. Coercion doesn't have to be deceptive. So, for example, if I'm a parent and I coerce my child into doing something that they should do, like eat their vegetables, that doesn't involve deception at all. Eat your vegetables or you don't get your allowance. Eat your vegetables or you're going to be doing chores for a week. Something like that. That's coercion. What we would think, most of us would think that's a justified form of coercion because the goal is to induce behavior that is conducive to what they ought to do anyway.
Didn't they just try to do that to Diddy? Instead of trafficking charge, they said it was coercion.
Well, no, that's different from the case I just gave you. But
So
I was giving just an example of a form of coercion I think most of us would accept as like morally good. Like we wouldn't say it was bad that I made my child eat the vegetables. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think in this instance, like it gets a little bit more complex because what you're doing is you're withholding information from the public, so the public has a completely wrong perception of individual, and you
Right. So just to be clear, I wasn't taking a position. I was saying.
Oh no! I totally understand.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard because I'm trying to figure out like
Where the line in the sand is, basically.
Yeah, but what are the principles though at the base level? Like I'm not against coercion in general because of cases like what I just said, but I am against clear cases. So like if I coerced you to murder my wife because I got some dirt on you, I feel like that's a clear case of coercion being bad. And one of the reasons why, at the very least, is because I coerced you to do a thing you ought not have done ever in the first place.
So then coercion is not in question. It's the goal that is in question. So whichever.
Yeah, well, it's more complicated by the fact that the coercion consists of the omission of information.